my loves, welcome back. I hope you had a great Halloween and that you are enjoying the last few weeks of fall before the Christmas season. For better or worse, where I live in the tropics, we have the same boring weather all year round. But that does not stop me from decorating my home for every season and having lots of fun with it. I love using the seasons for inspiration, for creating themed decor, and even for my menus when entertaining. Now this evening, my husband and I are having a few friends over for dinner, so I thought I would take you all on this process with me. I'm doing an autumn-inspired dinner, so watch until the end so you will see a complete dinner menu and my tips on how to set up a beautiful, elegant tablescape so that you can host your very own fall dinner or have a Friendsgiving. Now tonight I'm serving a charcuterie board filled with delicious autumn flavors and my homemade pumpkin spread and cranberry compote. Then a warm salad with sweet potatoes, bacon and pecans. And for the main course, a hearty chicken stew, which is perfect for the colder weather, but can also be enjoyed all year round. And for dessert, I'm baking a gorgeous rustic apple pie, which just screams fall. And lastly, I'm pairing this menu with my own apple cider sangria. When planning a menu, try to ensure that the ingredients overlap slightly. For example, the bread and crackers from the cheese board are also great for the stew, and fruit and the pecans on the board can be mixed into the salad. Now the first thing we're going to make is this absolutely scrumptious pumpkin spread. This works great as a starter or appetizer when served with crackers and sliced baguette. It's also a great addition to a charcuterie board. I have here a small pumpkin which I have peeled and cubed. I also have some chopped onions, ginger, and sliced green chilies, dry spices, turmeric, and chili powder. The complete list of dry spices is on my blog along with all the recipes from here. Now in a pan, heat some oil and add in the dry spices and then the onions and ginger. Saute for a couple of minutes just to soften and then add in your pumpkin. Season this with salt. You can add a little bit of water to steam the pumpkin. Now just put the lid on and allow it to cook on a low heat until soft. Now I'm moving this to a smaller burner for a lower flame to allow it to gently cook through. When it is soft, mash it down using the back of your spatula or spoon. If you want a smoother texture, you can also use a food processor. And that's all it takes to make this delicious spread. Next on the burner, I'm starting on my stew. All these dishes here can easily be vegan and vegetarian as well, just by omitting the protein, and in this case, the chicken. It also tastes equally good vegetarian. And if you're using this for Thanksgiving next week, you can even use turkey breast. Now the ingredients for this are boneless chicken pieces, cubed carrots and potatoes. I have soaked the potatoes in water so they don't turn brown, and I also have some thyme and bay leaves as well as some baby peas. For a vegan or vegetarian option, you can replace the chicken with sliced mushrooms. Any mushrooms will work. You can use cremini, Swiss, button, or even portobello. Now it starts with sauteing some large pieces of onion and the chicken. You can use boneless meat or boned meat for this. Cook the meat partially until it's no longer pink and then add 4 cups of broth. I'm using Campbell's chicken stock, but you can use vegetable stock as well, and it will still taste great. Then add in your potatoes. Stir to combine and make sure the potatoes are submerged. Season with 2 bay leaves, half a teaspoon of the dry thyme, and 1 teaspoon of salt. After about 10 minutes, you can add in the carrots. Once everything is in, bring it to a boil. Taste and then lower the flame and allow to simmer. Once all the ingredients are cooked, the last thing you want to add in are the petit pois green peas. Continue to cook on a high flame uncovered for 5 minutes or until the gravy reaches the consistency you like. This warm dish is so satisfying on a cold night, eaten with toasted bread or sliced French loaf to soak up the gravy. Now for the salad. This salad couldn't be easier to put together. The only real prep that you have to do is to roast your sweet potato in the oven. You can do this first so that it's done in good time. Just add some oil and seasoning of your choice, and then you let it get nice and crispy in the oven. For this salad, I'm using a mix of arugula or wild rocket, but you can use any lettuce you like. To make the dressing, all you need is some olive oil, red wine vinegar, and a dash of Dijon mustard. Just whisk it together and pour it over your salad and give it a light toss. Then you can add in the pancetta or bacon, the cubed cooked sweet potatoes, more bacon, more sweet potatoes, and then sprinkle with cranberries and pecans. You can definitely add cheese to this if you wanted, but since we are already doing a cheese board this evening, I chose to leave it out. And now let's get started on the sangria, which is a sweet and spicy drink perfect for the autumn. For this, I'm combining a few cans of apple cider, ginger beer, and bitter lemon. You can also add some white wine and vodka as well, but I'm not adding any alcohol. Just keeping it simple. Just remember not to add the ginger beer until it's time to serve because you don't want a flat drink. And for the garnish, I'm going to be using star anise and some cinnamon sticks. And lastly, for the dessert, you want to start by heating up a pan and then you add a knob of butter, thinly sliced pieces of ginger, elderflower syrup, brown sugar, cinnamon sugar, the peeled and chopped apples, and you're going to cook this for about 5 minutes so that all the flavors amalgamate and mix well until slightly caramelized. Then in an oven-proof dish, place your apples, top with puff pastry, which you can get from the store, and brush with some egg wash. Then sprinkle sugar on the crust. Pinch the ends and bake for 40 to 45 minutes at about 180 degrees. You can definitely prepare this pie the night before and stick it in the fridge. When your guests arrive, all you have to do once you've laid the dinner is to warm up your oven and bake it. It will be warm and fresh for dessert. Now that all the cooking is done, it's time to set up our fall-inspired tablescape. Tonight, I want to do a more buffet-style dinner because it looks very elegant, and buffet also allows for guests to mingle more freely, especially if it is a big group. I'm using my kitchen island as my service station, but you can definitely use any free table surface you have, even your dining table. If you are setting up in a free area, an area that you will not be using when you're cooking, then it makes sense to set up the night before. You will benefit greatly from laying everything out exactly the way you want it, right to the dishes and the cutlery. It's also a good idea to label each dish so you know exactly where each dish or condiment goes. Now, I don't have such a space because I use my kitchen island to prep and then to serve. So if that's your predicament too, then you can set up a few days earlier, and when you get the look you're aiming for, take a picture with your phone so you can quickly replicate the look after cooking using the picture as reference. Having chosen your surface, you want to create some interest by adding a variety of heights. Think of your buffet as a vignette. It requires different heights, widths, and shapes. So to create the height, you can use a combination of books, sturdy boxes, upside-down bowls, or anything that you have on hand. I have these risers from IKEA just for setting up my tablescapes, and I'm also using this sturdy box which used to be in my son's room. Next is to cover the risers. You can use any fabric or a tablecloth and carefully tuck it to create swirls around the risers. I'm using 2 wooden boards as trays as well for tonight's dinner. A general rule of setting up a buffet is to lay out the plates at one end of the table. Cutlery and napkins are placed at the other end, so guests are not required to juggle everything they're holding while trying to serve themselves. Once you have set up the crockery and cutlery, get down to the best part, adding your decor. Decorate based on your theme. For fall, you'll want to use warm colors like gold and copper, along with oranges and browns. You can add wheatgrass and pumpkins, pine cones and acorns. You can even add a few maple leaves if you like. Another important thing is to lay out the food in the same order that the guests will want to serve themselves. Now don't forget to have a small plate to place the serving spoons on. Now since my guests will be here in half an hour, it's time to plate the food. The stew is quite hot at the moment, so that when it's time to eat, it will still be warm. The salad is at room temperature, and the cheese and meat on the board is chilled. The ideal temperature it should be is about 65 to 70 degrees and should not be left out for more than 4 hours. I'm adding these pumpkin bowls that I got recently. I'm adding in my pumpkin spread and my cranberry compote. Then I'm adding the camembert cheese. Now you want to cut the cheeses so your guests don't feel unsure about cutting into your masterpiece. I got this box of mixed cheeses, which is specifically for cheese boards. It has 4 different types of hard cheese, and it works out not only more economical, but you don't end up with more than you need. Lay out a few more cheeses spaced out on your board. The next step is to add your meats. Each kind of meat should be placed in only one spot, unlike other items which are spread out. So here's my chopped chorizo. You can actually use any kind of sausages or salami, and I have also used some rolls of ham. Note for my bread and crackers, I have earlier buttered and toasted some thinly sliced French loaf. If you have a long charcuterie, you can slice the loaf diagonally, but since my board is round, I'm slicing it into discs. Now all that's left for me to do is to fill the gaps with fruit. I'm using chopped kiwi and grapes. I like having a cheese board or a charcuterie board as it's called because it also doubles as a conversation companion. I can easily bring the board to the coffee or dining table and guests can continue to enjoy snacking as the conversation carries on. For that reason, I also like using a turntable which makes food so much more accessible and no stretching needed. I do remove all the food from the island before I place the hot apple pie there, and I like to serve it with vanilla ice cream. I also like putting a dollop of the cranberry compote on the plate. The hot, sweet apple pie with the tangy compote and the cold ice cream is such a gorgeous combination of flavors in each bite. And that is it, a beautiful and simple dinner that took only a few hours to come together with some careful planning. So my loves, I hope you've got some ideas for setting up a fall-inspired buffet dinner. I really enjoyed filming this for you, so do let me know if you want me to share more menu ideas in the comments below. Also, do let me know which is your favorite season to entertain during. Don't forget, you can get the complete recipe for each dish from my blog, raveenaathome.com. And until the next video, this is Raveena saying happy homemaking.